side on it. So we hope it's going to trap everything that we can, but whenever we had that bulkhead washout and we had all those dead fish and everything, it was just, you couldn't get anything over there. I mean, it was just a mess.
Maybe countywide, because if you look, 188 is the cut through from the bypass to 35.
Yes.
And it's a long ways down for another cut through that's all the way through. Same way going into Aransas. Really have to go into Aransas. Do you think there might be a possibility for the county to look at another road that would be completely through the 235 other than what you have?
I don't really know of any road that would fit that. The only road that comes close to that might be Shaver. But Shaver makes a hard right. I mean, that'd be a very difficult, you can either go right or left on it, but it's a very difficult thing. I don't know of any other road that would go through south of 12th.
There's a couple of roads that do, when you get down to like Banty and those in there, although those are very narrow right of ways. And we could not put a large cut through road through those without acquiring additional right of way for the easement. And people don't like to give up their land. I've gone through this a lot of times over the last 15 years. Commissioners don't want to condemn property. That's not popular. So there's not any plans to do anything big there. But, like Bishop and not Bishop, but Banty and Jacoby, and that's probably all that go all the way through. But it's possible at some point we could do something, but it would take a lot of planning to get something done. Yeah.
We have quite a few roads that cut through on the other side of the bypass. We've got Murphy and Shaver and A1 Hill and
Right.
and Johnson and Armstrong, and all those cut through to 1069. But people are still coming from 1069 to get onto the bypass. But another thing that has made a difference is the plant in Sinton, the steel plant in Sinton. That thing's not up and running all the way right now, but whenever it gets up and running all the way, 188 is going to be very busy. I mean, it's going to be a very busy road, and there's going to be a lot of people turning off of the coast road onto 188 to get to Sinton. I'm sorry. I don't really know what Rockport Terminals has and what they're doing, but my understanding, and this is just my understanding, don't take this to the bank, try to cash it. But my understanding was that Rockport Terminals has a contract with the offshore terminals that they want to build, the super tanker terminals and stuff, because it's the only place within 100 miles where you have good access to major highways. You have rail, and rail's good now. And the people in Aransas Pass hate the rail, but if that's the easy thing. If you buy a property that's got a railroad behind it, you're going to sometimes expect to see a train, right? Well, they don't think that. They think that was just there. But and then it also has canal access, which is really good too. So that Rockport Terminals is going to do nothing but expand, I'm sure, because it's an ideal spot. Right.
That's what is not good yet.
No,
it's going to get worse.
It is going to get worse.
It's not good.
No.
That's a false word, false description.
Yeah.
We're already concerned about the traffic pattern.
Right.
And now you're going to be adding all of Rockport Terminal. And a lot of that steel out of Sinton is going to be coming this way.
It probably will.
Yeah, but the trucks were a major factor when they were building those rails out of the terminal.
Oh, absolutely. majority of all their stuff runs by the road, you know, not by the rail. Mhm. Oh, before I forget it, I need to get a sheet out there to get everybody to sign up with their email address and phone number, and I'll contact each one of you individually and give you my account, my information. I don't like doing mass mail outs. This just doesn't work. Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe what development is gonna go in? Is it that store on 188, heard retail as well as residential? Or shopping? Could you please describe?
Would you like to come up?
Yeah, right now it's called Rockport Landing.
Doug, I have your site plan on a PDF. Would you like me to?
Yeah, sure. But to answer your question, is on the frontage of 35, is retail, and residential, in the back.
Why don't you come, why don't you come up over here and present it from this side?
Okay. If you scroll down. So retail, residential, single family lots, and town. This is the entrance to 188.
So is that entrance directly across from the way the meeting center?
There aren't any apartments, though, right?
There may be some apartments. Yeah, so exactly.
Coming.
Right now, we have 170, both on this side and on this side. Total lots, changed around ever so slightly, so. Roughly 90 lots inside, and the town owns about 30 town lots.
That's the average price of the house.
Now, y'all are going to expand the impoundment area and kind of shape it more to the drainage. I think David was working on that with y'all.
Yes.
And that should help, in my opinion, on an average rain, a standard rain, not a 20-incher in 15 hours, you know, but that's going to help a lot on the drainage into Bucks and they're on 35 bypass or 35 Coast Road, I do believe. It'll at least slow some of that down.
So where's that drainage going to go? Is it going to go into islands now?
Well, it's going to 35, and that part of 35 does cross 188 going north, and then goes into the big canal by Islands of Rockport. It's already there, yeah. Well,
Let me answer that question. Let me answer that question. Whenever they were building Bucks, I went over there 3 times and talked to the engineer over there. And I said, you're 1.5 feet below where the average flood level is. But the engineer told me, I'm a drainage engineer and I know what I'm talking about. So I said,
yeah.
okay,
He was a drainage engineer from Austin.
yeah.
So
Yeah. He didn't have a clue.
he didn't quite understand flat. But they, I don't know. I'm not going to talk bad about Aggies.
Phase one.
It will be phased, haven't determined exactly how it will be phased just yet.
Is it like 2 years away before you begin?
We're hoping to get started next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not like January or say next year.
Not sure yet, we'll see.
When you say you're building phases, is that the total of the project though?
Yes.
Or are you expanding outside of that?
Right now, this is the total.
Do you think with the train that's going across, that the cars could actually get backed up to 188 with all this new traffic there? If you stop for that train, could it impact that, backing up all the way to the road? Well, the trains are long. What time is the shop?
Shops, retail. Don't know yet. Haven't really figured that out. Personally, I think that something that is an amenity to the project would probably be the most prudent way to go. So I think a small market would be great. A restaurant would be great. Some accessory retail.
Bait shop.
Yeah.
So on this space right here, how much concrete are you? Concrete.
I need to sign in sheet.
The roads would likely.
Oh, I have much percent.
It's a 25 acre site. I don't have figures.
I'm just thinking of the runoff of the concrete.
All of that goes into the calculation
Yes.
that we're in the process of now. So we designed the size of these ponds. These are all linked, by the way. So these are excavated. There's a small pond here today that will be excavated. As well as these. And that is part of a daisy chain stormwater system that is doing retention. So when a storm event, it's slowing it down. And depending on the calculations, also have a water quality component of it as well, so that it's letting some sediment drop out of it. But all that will be in the final calculation. So the square footage of the pervious cover goes into that calculation. Essentially, you're doing a condition as of day 0 today, and then a condition with the development bill and the gap.
Car washing or road washing.
Haven't gotten that far yet.
I take it all of this is already approved and past environmental concerns and such, all of that is ready to go?
This is approved as a concept plan. The next phase is plating, where we actually do the detailed engineering to conform to the county. In terms of environmental, we're in the process of mapping the wetlands. Most of the site has already had the wetlands mapped. There's some areas that weren't mapped, so we're doing that to make sure those are not jurisdictional, that we don't disturb them if they are. But for most of the site is not jurisdictional wetlands. And this one, the existing low area here, we're not doing that. We're just gonna make it bigger.
What's the elevation?
It varies. I believe you have some areas up here that are +10, and then probably the lowest spots are probably in here, maybe 5 or 6.
So at some point, those lakes come somewhere, they come out front or.
Yeah, that's what we would describe it. It will go into the swell of 35, and then it connects to the other side of 35, ultimately has to get to the bay, and it would presumably go down the drainage canal.
It's draining north.
Right.
It's draining to the north.
It's draining north
Mhm.
and under the road.
Under 188, yes.
188,
Mhm.
and then across.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
between us and Osborne.
Right.
So both.
No,
most of the
no.
Water that comes off from us goes south. City by the sea,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
It doesn't really go there. Water doesn't go across, most of it goes in front of, from the La Buena Vina, the city by the sea, which is kind of a mess. Yep. And I don't know if there's something we can do about that.
No one claims that easement. You know who that is that has that part that drains into Driftwood? Now they're
In the city by the sea or over.
at C by C.
I think it's a county easement.
We have county easement. I don't really know.
I don't know.
know it was a big hassle when those condos got rebuilt. Larry Minister was working on that. And I think he got, I don't know who was talking to, but nobody wants to touch it. I'm sorry, I don't know who built that.
Thank you.
But I think they did do some repair. They'll look at it full.
To answer your question, sir, about environmental, there's no environmental concerns there on any of that property over there. And as far as remediation needed to be done or anything like that, so environmentally, as far as the drainage is concerned, surface water, reference, that's already looked at. There's no concerns as far as any environmental harm to the community or anything below that.
Well, yes, yeah, that, I don't know.
No,
No.
we have to manage wetlands, we have to manage stormwater, and we have to do a tree plan. Do a tree survey, and have to comply with county regulations for trees.
So you bought, you closed on the property?
No, we have not closed. We closed on. Sewer.
From where?
Water's also. We're calling it Rockport Landing for now. I'm not sure that's gonna stick.
Oh, and that's across the street from the Isles of Rockport?
It's more across the street from one of Vita's.
Not behind, but okay.
Next to it, behind.
Oh, text not now, every time, when there's some claims on the file. They told me that y'all come out and do it, but they don't do it on a routine basis. Maybe that's something that I'll ask for, routine claim. Have somebody call me. You know, claim so far. Go too far with plastic bags.
They do respond to telephone calls, so by all means, keep calling and,
It'd be nice for them to say, like,
yeah, it would be nice. I'll gladly give you Robert Asasi's phone number. And you-
Squeaky wheel is.
Yes, there is an existing pond. No. One, it's not jurisdictional wetland. Two, we're not filling it. If it's a jurisdictional wetland, you want to fill that wetland, then you have to go to the court for a permit. We're not doing either of those things.
You said the apartments, the apartments are in front, but 35 or
Yes.
188?
35.
So how, like,
Probably the 1 2 story.
So, you all said that the water drains north. How are you basing this stuff, water drains through? Wait, so it's not very north. Up north, they don't have that property.
yeah. Yeah, when they put that ditch in at Islands of Rockport, TxDOT put the structure under 188 at that time to take that water that way. And that, yes, and that was before I was here, so I don't know exactly. But no, it's not Bishop Road is a whole different project. It has nothing to do with this area at all. Bishop Road is a different project. This is draining to Islands of Rockport, or that ditch there.
How does the water get to that pipe?
There is an existing pipe under 35 there now. And there's no, at the south end of that, where that big ditch is. And, well, okay, we can take a look at it somewhere, but that was my understanding when that TxDOT put that pipe under 188 to drain it to the big ditch. Like I said, that was before my time, but that's my understanding of how that's draining now. Well, I don't know. Before I was the county engineer, I mean, that was.
Yeah,
a while back.
that's been there over 15 years because it was a fairly new ditch when I ever came on as commissioner.
Kiki might have the answer there.
When we did the Islands of Rockport phase 1, that ditch was 15-foot wide. And then when we did phase 1, we doubled it in size and added more depth to it.
The depth was
So-
done recently.
No, that was done in 2013, 12, 13. The water is, if y'all think about the rain. As far as this, you come out during the rain, heavy rain is blowing and drip right there on the top. It flows down, but doesn't go down that ditch. It doesn't go more. It goes right over the way it beat up. Then south, and then it goes through the city by the city. Most of the water, that canal, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, when I see that canal, I think the water's coming from. High tide comes in. If you know they sell that. Anyway. I just want to understand how, we heard, well, see the extent, that's a county ditch. Okay, that's a good range.
That's kind of how our county is. We're so flat, it could pond and go a different direction.
The water's full, we still got additional. No other than we're saying that's gonna be there a range out to the bay other than what is currently there.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're still gonna see the problem. On speed down there.
When you get 20, 30 inches of rain, you will see problems. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Everywhere in this county.
Well, right now, that property absorbs some of that water.
It does absorb it unless it's been raining for a few months before that. I mean, when we have really, really bad problems, it's because we had a little rain in April and then another little rain in May, and then we have a big rain in June and the water in the ground saturated. We have problems. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I guess it's just what we're trying to figure out, if there was anything else gonna be built, into drainage. Apparently it's not, it's gonna stay as is.
As is.
Nothing's gonna change there, other than we're gonna see
Right.
probably a lot more water.
Well, they're detaining what's running off, but yes, when we have the big rains and we get in a rainy season, we'll see floods just like we had a year ago.
Is there an account or is there a calculation made to various drainage areas to the anticipated runoff from the area that's gonna happen?
You're talking about an overall watershed? Yes, there is. What we have is based on what's out there now. When we project that area 20 years from now, we didn't project that it was changing much that it had. I mean, it's been like that for, years and years. We are getting more development now. Drainage maps probably do need to get updated, but that's a TxDOT road and TxDOT should be looking at that as well. I do work with Robert pretty well and trying to anticipate problems like this. But it's not a quick solution that we can come up with. You know, nobody has that kind of money to put a structure under a highway. You know, that's, I don't know, $500,000 and $800,000 project. So it does, you know, then who pays for it? Is that a county problem or is that a state problem? I like to think it's a state problem. I'm sure Robert likes to think it's a county problem. You know, the only way we can really do anything like that is to get a grant, and we do try to get grants. We've had grants that have helped us put structures under state roads before. We have grants that's going to help us put a state structure under going into Bahia Bay. You know, I'd like to think that we can keep doing this as they become available, but you know, there's a whole state out there that's competing for this money. You know, they're not just giving it all to Rockport just because, you know, nobody cares about Harvey anymore. If they ever did, I mean, all that money went to Houston anyway. Yes, ma'am.
Really first house at the Bahia Bay. And when the water comes and runs through the canal, there, this has been filled in like 3 nights. And the hole is big enough to where I could fall in it. And so Sherry and Driscoll always call and get filled in, but something is causing that and it's going down again. So what is
Yeah.
that?
And you say that Bahia Bay?
Bahia Bay.
Okay, so when we do penetrate that bulkhead with this project that we're about to start, we'll see what's going on. I know I've filled in that hole before a time or two also, and somewhere there's a leak probably in the bulkhead that's letting the dirt wash out when it rains and creating a void. And so then it starts falling, and hopefully we see what's going on when we make those cuts. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that hole right there where the water runs in, it scares me.
Yeah.
Falling, no one would go where you are, you know?
Right.
So, and there's also a problem a little further, you know, in where just the entrance is. It's washing out.
Okay.
So that very much concerns me, is what's causing that.
We have a question right here. Has been trying to get in.
I had heard going back to Rockport terminals.
Mhm.
That they were contemplating building a road from the terminals to 35 bypass.
And I've heard that too.
And if they did that, that would eliminate a lot of our concerns on traffic.
They own, as I understand, they own property all the way to the bypass.
That's what I heard.
And did they talk to you about that, David?
Vaguely, you know, I mean,
Mhm,
they have
that's-
nothing, they had nothing set in stone. There was some talk. I think that was when they were still planning that, what it is.
Well, that was
Whatever.
that was during annexation issues.
Yeah.
And they really had stopped.
Right.
That is one thing they need to do,
Yes.
because as they grow, and they will grow, they're gonna have more and more truck traffic in and out.
But that would eliminate a lot of our concerns on the traffic if they did that.
It would certainly help. It would certainly help. Widening 188 would help out too, you know, to some degree. And I'm, you know, that runs, that's across Rabbit Run back there, isn't it? Isn't it Rabbit Run? Rabbit Run's
Yeah, close
okay.
to it, maybe part of it.
Yeah.
What they were planning was north of Rabbit Run. Rabbit Run was not going to be their main road or anything.
Yeah. But it was in that area.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think they, if I'm not mistaken, they own all the way to the highway. And so I think, but I'll be more,
We could do, or y'all could do, to see if they're gonna do that.
we can certainly ask them. We can certainly do that, and I'd be glad to do that. Yeah, I haven't had a conversation with them in a long time.
And you have to understand, we're the county, not a city. And all we really can do is ask them, and they may or may not tell us, It's-
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, for the type of industry they have, they've worked with us very well. They've laid out, they've done everything except they hadn't put the greenery in the front. which,
Right.
Yeah, looked like palm tree form or something. But
Islands Rockport, where is their drainage going to go into the bay?
Islands Rockport is draining into a wetlands that they are creating. Was it already a wetlands, Kiki? And you're
It's full.
enhancing it, and then it's gonna go discharge into the bay there right north of what's the next one? Yeah. That's where the outfall is, but he's holding it in a wetlands.
Turns into a swale.
Yeah,
It's cleaned out by grass, cleaned out.
Right.
Enters into the basin.
And then it'll go down, what is that road where Land's End goes into Estes?
Right.
right.
And it'll drain down to Estes.
How does it get to that detention pond? Well, that big swale that's out there. Well, where all the water sitting on that.
Oh, no, that'll all be filled back in. Yeah, that'll be graded. And listen, it's really a challenge because the streets are so low.
Yeah.
It is a real challenge. We're getting it done.
That's good.
So I would like to say that, if there is drainage problems and traffic problems, it's probably all caused by Islands Rockport. And I will be happy to give you Kiki's phone number. I am kidding.
I think that we appreciate Islands Rockport because it's going to be very nice for our community. The Army barracks between the Hill Bay and Cove Harbor.
Oh.
Palm Harbor.
Yeah,
I don't know so much about that.
right.
Which is why I was concerned about what you were showing, you have a lot of I don't knows, because it's like, well, okay, there's a lot of squares on that, but what's gonna go on that square, as far as like what we're talking about, it's gonna be really nice, or is it gonna end up being army barracks? I would guess the cost of land. Well, I was hoping, well, I know, I'm in City by the, several of us are in City by the Sea, and we've always been concerned about water quality in our canals, as well as runoff. When I first moved there, this was before 180 Wake was redone. When we had any significant rain at all, that north canal would turn black. Now, once they did 188, that has changed, and it takes a lot for it to turn, but we don't know, that's just what we can see. We don't know what kind of other pollutants are going to go in, and we all know that first flush of rain is what really carries the most pollutants. So we're all concerned about that. We're actually hopefully going to have a study done on our canals by mostly invasive estuaries. Try to get a handle on why you're worried about all of that, because you've got all of the fertilizer and pest control and oil for people's cars and all that stuff. Like, we don't really want that. That's on there. Exactly. It's just going to increase all of that. And it's going out into really a very sensitive bay area. And in spite of the fact that 13 years ago, it's heavily done north. Yeah.
Are you planning on doing some landscaping and native fruits, so forth, or do you have it all?
We haven't gotten into a landscape plan, but, yeah, it'll be
It's so
pretty
nice.
heavily landscaped, as
Yeah.
much native as possible.
There's not anything there now that'd be nice. trailer for those people.
Landscaping, and I'm sorry, I stepped out. Are you going, I see that you have all of those, your retention ponds, retention. Are you going to put any kind of traps in there, to catch any of, if they're going to be draining eventually out into the bays, are you going to put any traps in there for trash? Dr. going to be good at the
They haven't gotten to that stage of specifics of how they're going to do that. There is a water quality component in the county's drainage plan that they will comply with.
that encumber their development plans?
No, I don't think so. I think it fits well within what they're trying to do.
Putting in something to track and keep trash from there from going out into the bays.
We have to look at, of course, I've not typically seen that application.
But eventually that water will go out from there, right?
But are you concerned about plastic bags being collected in our development?
Yes. Plastic bags, cigarette butts, water bottles. What? So water bottles, Coke cans, water bottles, Coke cans, and all that.
Certainly, I think you're probably gonna get more trash on the highway than you would filtering through our stormwater system. We just haven't gotten into that level.
That is a concern.
But just to be clear, it said for the state road, their right of way, including swales and drainage needs on our road, not our jurisdiction.
Some of the water coming off of the development will go into that.
I'm pretty sure it's Kiki's fault.
They're ratting on you, Kiki.
Some of the challenges with putting a trap, to say to your question on the different side of things, is that, and I understand, y'all are looking now too, in the trash, it all comes in there, but 90% of that trash, people throw it out the window, or it's the tourists that come through and they get the boat activists.
Mhm.
Now, one thing with that problem with the trapping it, is it has to be cleaned out. And then it also, if the weather's not conducive to cleaning it out, it can block the natural drainage. And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna go, oh, Mr. Moreland, Mr. Reed, Mr. Cheney.
No,
You
no.
know? So,
I guess it's a matter of who cleans it out versus the place that it comes from, or the people who are downstream from it.
but there's no way to tell where it actually comes from. In that sense, 'cause nobody has that crystal ball and nobody reads that fingerprint. But I mean, I understand where you're coming from and I ally with you. I just wanted to show the other side of.
Yeah.
Trash under the water, it's like a filter, you know, it's not gonna go through, it's eventually gonna clog it and you're never create a whole nother problem that none of us want.
But you know, that's a very realistic situation. But if we're able to clean it up 95% of the time, that's 95% of the stuff that won't go in there. And that time whenever you have, 3 solid months of nothing but rain, which we have sometimes, it's hard to do that. But that's the exception, not the rule. And it's difficult to engineer for the exception. Where they're doing it, if you haven't looked at that property, that property is kind of comes off a cliff and then kind of dumps down. And at this particular point, there's really no organized system of draining that. Kind of sheet flows down there and then kind of collects in Buck's parking lot. What I've seen from this is you're still going to have the same amount, and you're going to have some impervious cover up there that you have in any subdivision, but it has a system, and you have some cattails for it to go to, and some natural cleansing areas that we don't have now. What you have now is just depressions in the dirt. But there's no way in the world that we can ever get rid of all of the drainage issues. But I think that Aransas County, from what I've seen around here, has taken the more proactive way of doing it than anybody. But, you know, I mean, we have, well, you know, partners with the community. Mr. Rourke has allowed us to use some of his ponds for detention and sedimentation issues and things like that. And we're getting more and more that, because they're seeing that, people are seeing that this is what happens. The Bishop Road thing is a compilation of working for 25 years trying to figure out how to solve that problem. And finally, they finally said, well, got a highway there. We got to get underneath the highway. And it wasn't until David came here, and I'm not really going to brag on David because I don't like him, but David came here and he started looking at that, and we started working with TxDOT on it, and finally got it to where we have the funds to get underneath 35 Coast Road and get it out into the community. Because there's a couple of people out there that you get a 10-inch rain, and they got 5 inches of it in their house. Now, that's poor design on the house at the time, and the county doesn't have the ability, at the time, didn't have the ability to cause that not to happen, but it did happen. I had in one of the rains that we had over off of, I think it was Shaver, I had a house out there that was surrounded by water for 3.5 months. And the daughter that was there got so stressed that she had a heart attack and died. But it was just, the house was fine. The house was up high, but they waited for 3 months in knee-deep water to get to their car. You know, I mean, it was just terrible. It doesn't do that now. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying we have taken an honest look at everything. And that's one of the reasons we're having this meeting, to get all of the input that we can. But we've taken an honest look to see how it is that we can help that. We live in a tropical area that goes from desert to flood in 2.7 seconds sometimes. And just in my subdivision, I live in Peninsula Oaks subdivision, which is you know, just a moderate middle-class subdivision. And down on where Myrtle Lane and Cenizo hit, water used to stand there for weeks, and now it stands there for at most 45 minutes. And it's not because I'm on that street, but it's just because that was a subdivision that we had a canal. And David worked on the people downstream for at least 4 years, I guess, before we got all the easements that we needed to get it to the bay. And drainage is not something we can sit and solve here in 15 minutes or 2 hours or 20 days, but it is something we can solve over time. And we can never solve it all, because the more drainage you solve, the more property becomes attractive for people to build on. The more people build on it, you got more impervious cover, which adds to drainage. So it's really a catch-22, but it's a catch-22 that we're willing to take on and try. The Commissioner's Court, to a person, is committed to drainage. I mean, we really are. And David is a drainage engineer by profession. And, you know, we work with developers like Kiki and City by the Sea people and La Buena Vida, and really everybody to work better. And we're building better and better restrictions all the time that are not so hard that people can't build, because people are going to build. And then if they're so difficult, then they're going to look for ways around it. But we want to make sure that everything's covered. The tree committee, you know, where they first started that, people saying, well, they want to go out here and tell me what trees to do. But they've saved thousands of trees that are 6 or 8 or 10-inch caliper on it that would have been clear cut. I mean, they've done thousands of them. And drainage, we just put a new drain in at the end of Griffith, which again is Peninsula Oaks subdivision. But we had people that were so impressed with the drains that we're doing that they gave us the right of way to take that to Club Lake. And that is going to make a huge difference for hundreds of acres in the area. And I will say that the city of, or the county of Aransas works well with the city of Rockport. But on these trapping of stuff that goes into Little Bay and stuff like that, I'm requesting that the city of Rockport step up theirs, because the county is trying to catch what we can as it comes, before it comes into the city. Yeah, but that takes personnel, and it takes budget, and it takes increases in the budget. But it's a major issue. You don't want to live in the bottom of a bowl. You want to live somewhere on the side.
Well, it's very difficult to balance development when you don't have any environmental rules.
Mhm.
In order, and so, we have to engage developers and educate
Oh, yeah.
on what can be done instead of concrete.
Mhm. Well, I would say in the county, the developers in the county have done well. We've had some major developments out there. Islands of Rockport, La Buena Vita is come on, and
I'm looking at one out my back door.
Mhm.
It wasn't done well.
No.
At all. And I would hate for that kind of process to continue. And I really appreciate this. This is
Mhm.
really
Good. Well, I'd like to have more of these meetings on any type of thing that you have concern about. The more that we visit, and the more that you understand what we're trying to do, and we understand what the effects of it are, because we look at it and said, hey, that worked well. Y'all look at it and said, that's screwed. That's terrible. And we come to something where maybe it doesn't do as well as we want, but it does better than it's doing now. And that's what we're looking at.
I think one of the concerns out in our area is, out in Rossville, they've got a restriction on what water you fill up. We do it city by city. Thank you, Kelly, for that. So what happens with the Rahati cottages?
Mhm.
Where are those restrictions on what we're trying to build there? I can't imagine if one of them caught on fire. I don't think a fire truck get in between them.
That is one of the banes of my existence. We're doing PUDs, public unit development, which they have, under the guidelines of the state, they have the right to do that. But they don't build to county standards as far as separation and impervious cover and everything. And eventually they're going to be coming back to the county and saying, well, we bought this here. We thought this was in the county. Now you need to take the roads over, and you need to take the drains over whenever it's too late. You bet. Take care. But that's one of the, that's a PUD. And once you get inside their fence, if their septic system, that's about the only thing we can control. Yes, ma'am.
Next is Mr. Morgan's development. You're gonna have an HOA? Just like the communities across, all these members are here concerned with, they have an HOA too.
Okay.
So I think that would probably give a peace of mind that, the county's gonna hold your feet to the fire, you're gonna hold your engineers to the fire on the drainage, because I know that's a developer's one of the biggest concerns. So I don't know if it works out. They're right there in that place, and it's like waterfront property and that, so. You can't even go through there.
Where?
A lot of, and I know there's a formula for, how much surface space you take up, concrete foundation, et cetera, to how much water is going to disperse when you plant a tree or you pick a tree, you uproot a tree. Don't remember that formula. It's probably in my office. However, and I'm sure that we take into consideration on concrete, but that is a big concern of the people here. so willing to work with any development that comes across there. And that is a good solution, you know, preliminary solutions that what I was talking about. I know that there's been talk of, like you mentioned, 1069 and widening it. That's been talk 10, 12, 15 years of widening that road all the way from Highway 35 north, all the way around, 1731, and all the way back. I believe that, and I know that's, you know, sometimes it's dangerous at night, you can't see, a lot of deer run through there. Would that be an option on Business 35 for that and 188? That they will be highly traveled. We already know that that's coming in from Rockport terminals. We already know that Mr. Moreland's going to be moving forward properly within the channels and the guidelines. So would that be an option? Is there any surface talk about that with Robert Sasky at TechStop?
I have not had that kind of conversation with Robert. I don't really know what TechSot is planning, but they look at those things. I'm sure they're thinking about what's going to happen and what they're going to need to do eventually, and at what time they need to pull the trigger. You know, they have their budgets to deal with as like everybody else, and it's state money, so everybody in the state is fighting for that money. You know, they'll get their share of it, but they're not going to get more than Houston or Dallas.
Well, it's a new year, and we have projected growth here in the coastal bend between, you know, Rockport, Aransas Pass, and Eagleside. Port A, they're on the road. But then perhaps there may be some grant that would come around because for next year that would be able to give this area an opportunity to continue to grow and keep the infrastructure safe for all those people that live there, because it's going to happen anyway. There's so much vacant land and vast land along there, both on east and west side of Highway 35.
Yep.
As you know.
Yep. I'll be happy to talk to Robert, you know, see if there's something going on now, and if not, maybe I can put a bug in his ear.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
You said one thing I want to pick up on. You talked about the HOAs, POAs. One of the things that has helped the canal communities more than anything is they all have strong HOAs and POAs. And I encourage all the members to go to those meetings and express what it is. And you know, and invite you know, some official to come and tell you about something that is bothering you at the time. Because, you know, I deal with people every day, and you know, it has to do with mosquitoes, and why can't you spray on both sides of the street? Well, the wind doesn't blow to both sides of the street. It blows from one side to the other. And why can't you do it during the day? Well, during the day is too much traffic. You know, so we do it in the middle of the night. Well, it disturbs me. Well, I'm sorry. Which disturbs you more, the mosquitoes during the day or the noise at night? But the POAs and HOAs have worked very well with the county on many issues. And I really appreciate that. And I encourage any new development to get a strong POA or HOA. And, you know, it's certainly good to be able to have Judy helped us so much on arranging this, but City by the Sea has a very good HOA, but it again, it varies up and down. It's people moving in that have second houses there that really don't want to get involved. But members need to get involved in the very beginning. You know, I know Mr. Moreland and Kiki, I think, are both already in the process of getting somebody other than just engineers involved in the design work further down the road. But HOAs and POAs they're wonderful. They really are. If we don't have any more questions, I would like just to thank you all for coming. If you have more questions, please do. But that seem to have got a lull here. But please keep us informed. Judy, you want to say something?
I just want to thank you all for taking the time. I know it's late Friday afternoon and this is usually the start of cocktail hour for some of us.
That, yeah.
I really appreciate when I called Jack a couple of weeks ago and I said, this is everybody's concern. We need to have some conversation with the county. And Jack immediately said, absolutely. And so Jack is the one who then took that and ran with it. So he gets the credit for putting this together. And David
David didn't want to come. I made him come. No.
I'm at overtime right now.
I've got to say, David has done a lot of
Yeah.
good things as far as drainage for the county.
Absolutely.
I was involved a few years ago with when the county was coming up with their master plan for drainage. And before that, to my knowledge, no one was doing anything.
Mm.
It was just haphazardly happening, or not, but mostly not,
Mhm.
around the county. And the county did step in, and it was kind of a tussle to get the city on board with that. And we're still working on that. We're still working with the city, okay? But Jack, we do thank you. And
Thank you.
David, and you, I'm sorry, Doug, very much. Thank you all. Would y'all like to do this again at some point?
No.
So, all right, good.
Thanks, Jack.
You bet, guys.
Too bad. Didn't seem bad.